to the CAO report and action list, page 77. We need a motion. Councillor Danac.
Council received the CAO's Brian Martinson's verbal report and action list for information.
Just to let council know that Mayor Cox and myself met with the two new staff sergeants who are sharing the running of the High Prairie Detachment, John Respet and Paul Talifer are the two gentlemen's names. I also attended the meeting with Arnold Verizon with council, and I will be attending a meeting with the Mackenzie Municipal Services Agency on this Friday, March 11th in Wanham. I was working with the Beautification Committee and West Fraser to help them remove I think Trish said 23 trees that are growing up in McIntyre Park that have to be removed. And we just received confirmation from TD Green Streets that they were not approved of funding to buy the trees that they were going to replant in there. So they did not get approved. There was 141 municipalities had applied under that, and we were not successful. I contacted 7 appraisal companies to get appraisals done on the High Prairie Airport property, and 2 have responded back to me already with some numbers, and the other one said it would take at least a week to a week and a half to even give a quote for a price to provide the appraisal.
That's just a price for the appraisal, not the price.
No, that's just a price.
Give you a quote.
Yep. And if you check the action list, if anybody has any questions.
Councillor Danac.
Page number 78 from motion 558/15. Received the request for accredited supported living services in the property exemption. This is the one, is this the one that Sharon Cox speaks to?
I think this one here was the building that these people rent off of Daryl Sutruk.
Oh,
It's across
okay.
from the Rona.
Okay, I wasn't sure if that was that or their house.
No.
Okay,
No, this is
Okay.
a building up there.
all right.
Any other questions? And these are some of the things when we go through this, and we were just talking about it outside. Take time to go through these so that, and if you have any questions now, the time to really get to the nitty gritty of it is to come in and see Brian prior to the council meeting if you have any questions. And I know that his door is always open and willing to sit through and answer any questions you might have. So he's on vacation. Put a lot of effort into this, they do. How's that, Nancy? Is that okay? You good? There you go.
Can I just a quick question on, Brian, did you say you were going to a municipal planning committee meeting?
Yeah.
That's not one that,
Mackenzie,
okay, but it's not one the rest of us have to go to, it's just you?
they said for administrators.
Phew, okay.
No further questions? Nothing? No. That was easy. I'll get them later. Okay. Thank you very much. All those in favor? Carried. And the next is the checklist. And again, the checklisting is, if there's any questions, feel free to ask the treasurer or Brian. Aside from that, this is for information for our meetings only. If you'd like to make a motion for the checklisting, you certainly may.
You don't have to twist my arm. I make a motion that council receive the check listing for council for February 3rd to February 17th, 2016 for information purposes.
All those in favor? Carried. And notice of upcoming meetings, page 88. The finding agreement.
This is a negotiation series information that Town of Peace River are hosting from Municipal Affairs. And I thought this, with the dealings that we've been going through with the County of Big Lakes, this may be a good information session that council may want to take part in.
It is. Councillor Denaka.
I make a motion that council approves the attendance of any members of council who wish to attend the finding agreement workshop that is being held on March 23rd and 24th, 2016 in Peace River.
And those days are what?
Wednesday, Thursday,
Wednesday, Thursday.
because the 25th is Good Friday.
Discussions?
I didn't see it, but what is the deadline for registration?
They had no deadline, but if council can let me know, I will contact them and give them the numbers of how many people are going to be attending.
I know I won't be able to make that.
No.
Yeah, nor will I.
My concern is for the My concern is for the councillors that are on, for example, the intermunicipal. It would be very good if this is what one of the things Councillor Long was referring to.
Registration closes 5 business days prior to the workshop start date. So it would close 5 days prior to March the 23rd. 18th.
So I can have Nancy email the members of council that aren't here tonight to see if they have an interest in attending, now that council have passed this motion. And then if they are so going, or one or two of them, or all three of them, then we can give them the numbers.
It'd be a good one to attend.
Yep.
Okay, all those in favor? Carried. And moving right along, the FCS estimate, which is on page 91, which first we had information. Council Gilroy. Making a motion? No. I saw you pushing the button. I saw him too.
I have not, I'm not sure which one to do.
So would we put this contribution as, where would we take this out of the grants and organizations?
The presentation,
The presentation she gave us suggested that we held back
We need a
some.
motion.
So that's why I can't make a motion, because I'm confused on that part now.
Excuse me. What is it you're confused on, Councillor Gilroy?
When we were given the presentation, our speaker there was suggesting that we were given a certain amount, and we give them 80% and we hold back 20%. It almost sounded like she was asking for it to come out of the extra money that we.
That's through the funding for their whole.
That's for the whole program. That's not, this is just for their, this is just for their events.
Your question.
No, they're not.
You can make it all in one if you want to get both extra ones.
Yeah, we'll do that. I got a motion.
The council, sorry?
Go ahead.
The council approved the funding of $1,000 for the 2016 Volunteer Appreciation Event and the Senior Week events being hosted by Big Lakes Family and Community Services, and/or that council approve the attendance of one or more members of council to attend the 2016 Volunteer Appreciation events and the Senior Week events being hosted by Big Lakes Family and Community Services.
Discussion. And April 11th is
Monday.
Monday? Yeah. Okay.
Procedural question. If I abstain from voting for this because I'm on the committee, does it matter whether I'm on the committee or not? Okay, I thought it was a conflict of interest being on the committee to then approve the funds.
A pecuniary conflict of interest would be if you were to monetarily gain from it and you aren't.
Okay.
If
Just-
you were an employee of FCSS, that might, and that funding was,
Okay. Just wanted to make sure that I was
no.
clear on that.
If you're sitting on a committee, it does not create a conflict. Any further discussion? And yeah, I'm in favor of it. I'll be looking for it. Anytime you can help out and appreciate volunteers, that's why we're here. That is why we're here. Thank you.
Do we need the motion read back, or is it pretty self-explanatory? It's just part B and C. No discussion, call the question, all those in favor? Carried. Unanimously. And then, on to the written and verbal reports. And we will start with Councillor Danaka.
You have to make a motion to accept the mayor's report.
And so Councillor Danaka has just made a motion to accept the mayor's report. There's no questions because she's not here to respond, but hopefully you've all read them, so it's all good. All those in favor? And then Councillor Danaka.
Got my report in front of you. The only thing I would like to add regarding the museum
Is this yours after hers?
Yes.
is if anybody's interested, I do have regarding the diary of Alda Dale Randall, which is an exhibit that's at the Provincial Archives in Edmonton at the moment. It gives some background on that, as well as I have a copy of the diary that was written by the lady that Darlene received a call from, the woman in New Hampshire, her grandmother, Lillian C. Doucette. She wrote a diary for her children and her grandchildren. I have a copy of that if anybody is interested in reading that. Have you received a letter yet from the museum regarding the painting?
I did. It's looked after. The painting's looked after.
Oh, okay. Alrighty.
And the pictures.
Pardon me?
And the pictures.
And the pictures. Okay, so we know now what we, okay, perfect, good, good. So if there's no questions on my report, I move it for information.
Seeing none, all those in favor? Carried. Councillor Gilroy.
I attended the usual meetings that everyone else attended, but the one that you didn't attend that I did was one for the High Prairie and District Waste Management Authority. I'm the alternate and I was the only councillor there, so I guess I was the member. They had a presentation by Ridgeline Green presentation, and it had to deal with the District Waste Authority and the kind of work that they wanted to do. They wanted to propose facility that would deal with 3 different things. They wanted an industrial cell class 2, which has to do with contaminated waste, but it would not, it's a dry waste, so it doesn't deal with leachings. And apparently they also have monitoring around already, that I found out. But they also wanted to put a storage pad and also a wet waste recycling of contaminated soil from the oil field. And so I asked the county at the end of it, because they have a number of questions first as to whether they're going to make any money or not on it. They want numbers. This guy, the Ridgeline Canada, wants a 10-year contract, and as one of the partners, we would have to agree to that. There's apparently the county has 50% interest, and the other partners have the rest. They're saying there's no biohazards or things like that, no leachings. I had concerns more about not only about the finances of it, but also about how it would impact future costs on infrastructure, because it wouldn't be, depending on the money that they're still looking at, it's a very complicated process. So, and we may not make anything out of it, and yet we may have to pay for some upkeep depending on, you know, the higher levels of traffic and that on Seal Lake Road. And so I'm still waiting to find a little bit more about it, and I'm sure that our normal member, Councillor Panasek, will be able to tell us a little bit more after that one. But other than that, that's the only ones that I've, other than the normal ones that the council has agreed to go to, that I was at. One thing I would just want to put in, I've been talking to the community about this, so I'm adding it to my report. I've been encouraging as many people, businesses, and all the rest in the community to come up with ideas for the sesquicentennial. I want them ahead of time for the simple reason I don't want to spend budget money to brainstorm. I want the community on board. I want their ideas emailed to me or handed to me, whatever, because it's a year-long process. And so I want to go into our first meeting with something in hand. Okay, so I'd encourage each of the councillors to do the same thing, get the guys to talk, and to give us a list of stuff that we can do that will benefit the community. Okay. I motion the council receive my verbal report for information purposes.
Any questions? It'd be interesting to see what they have to say about the numbers on that. Everything possibly, I think.
We wouldn't believe the discussion. We'll talk about that later.
Yeah. All those in favor? Carried. And I guess the next one is me. And again, like the rest,
Thank you. Testing, 1, 2. Attended a lot of the different meetings that the rest of us have done. We are going to be getting the sesquicentennial committee getting along here right away, and also we're going to be having to sit down and talk about bylaws and all of those things as well. So, so we're going to have a busy month coming up ahead of us, and I think in regards to the meeting with our MLA, somewhat disappointed to hear that our new hospital will not be equipped with radiation chemotherapy and dialysis. That in fact the terminology that she did use was that there will be shells made available, so that down the road we have a facility that has the shell space for dialysis. That doesn't help the residents who are in need now. I've been talking about this issue for, well, almost 3 years now, since the election onward. And if you talk to any of the specialists and any of the docs in town, any of the governments, provincial or federal, we are looking at, and we have passed the precipice for issues regarding dialysis and the need for dialysis. Diabetes is on the rise. Obesity is on the rise. High blood pressure is on the rise. Heart disease is on the rise. But when we're looking more specifically at our First Nations partners and Métis partners within our area, we are one of the highest regions in the country for the need for dialysis. Diabetes is on a huge increase, and it's not a matter of if, it's when. And all of the Kokums, Muslims, and grandmas and grandpas and aunts and uncles who are going to be impacted by this disease will have to leave our community to get dialysis. And when they leave, it's days and days and days of having to get their dialysis, staying at the hotels or wherever it is that they're staying, and trying to make it work at a huge cost to the families. And so we need that support here, and I can't say it enough times. Yes, it's tough economic times. Yes, we've waited for a decade for this hospital. Don't give us an empty space. That's all I'm saying. That's my verbal report, and I move it for acceptance from this council. All those in favor?
Can I ask a question?
Yes, you may.
I promise to be a short question, because of what you
That's
just
amazing.
said.
No, I'm kidding.
She's got that on record now, right? Because of what you said, you reminded me that I had talked to the Reeve of Big Lake County about what you had talked about.
Yeah.
And the project we had also talked to the MLA about, of getting the local MDs to put together a list of referrals so that we can present a united front of saying this is the number of people who've had to leave our community for that. How would we get a formal letter to the county so that they could actually implement this, to help your help in this?
Well, I know that Reeve Matthews has been involved with this for quite some time as well. So when it comes to insofar as the information, he's probably as aware of it as anybody. The stats are hard to get because once they go by postal code, and so once John Doe leaves T0G1E0 and goes to Edmonton, that person's no longer from here.
When we were talking with the MLA and talking beforehand, we said talking to the doctors, the clinics.
The docs, yeah.
In this, regardless of postal code.
Yep.
Talking to the doctors and how many referrals for these items have you had to send outside? And that's what I'm talking about. Is there a way of sending a request to the county that they ask their admin to petition the doctors or the clinics within the county to just give us numbers so we can put them together. Is there any way of doing that from this council so we can help our hospital, since this is part of your report?
You would be able to get the information eventually through probably the Northern Alberta Renal. They would have some information as well. The docs would have some. We could probably get that information. The biggest impact and the biggest demographic is from the First Nations, bar none. And so that's something that we would have to look at as well. We'd have to talk to the different communities to find out. It's a hard one to get, because statistically, when you talk to Dr. Laughlin and you talk to Dr. Edwards or whomever, they can give you the 7 or 8 people that they know that have, but over the years, how many have gone and are now living in Edmonton or living in Slave Lake, and they're no longer part of the census data for this area.
Well, they're giving us the last year.
So hopefully we can get that information. But at the end of the day, the bottom line is that this is something that's desperately needed in this area. The stats show it, that we are more likely to die earlier by 5 years because we live in this area. There's just a whole pile of issues that we can look into and say, this region needs help. We need that medical assistance. We need that professional help. And to be left on the back burner, or to say that, yeah, you guys are suffering, but you know what? We have more important issues. I don't see where there could be any more important issues than what we're facing right now. But, so yeah, eventually we will get the numbers that we need. And it's just a matter of getting the government to finally come on board. Any further questions? No? Seeing none, I move my report for information. All those in favor? Carried. Are you okay? Need a hug? No? You're good? Okay. Yeah, that's coming. And I believe
since Councillor Rose is not here, I move her written report for information.
with the Lako Bridge. All those in favor? Carried. And that
Councillor Court.
concludes.
Councillor Court, you got no report.
Oh,
That's okay.
snap.
So I'm not the only, no.
I humbly apologize, fine
All
sir.
right, no problem,
We are forgiving that.
no problem.
Okay.
Extended budget to the rec board.
Good thing you brought that up, because I have a question for that board.
Absolutely. Verbal report.
Verbal report for myself. Of course, I was gone on holidays for a little while, but got back in time for my first rec board meeting, which was yesterday, which went, it has its ups and downs, but it went well. End of the day, it was a positive meeting, so lots of meat and potatoes to it, but I'm not gonna dive into it at this moment. But if you have questions, I will answer them. But as for that, that's all I really have for my verbal report. So, is there any questions?
Get your feet wet.
Yeah, exactly.
Where are we at with the budget, the rec board?
Where we at with the budget is basically it's the our numbers are gonna it's coming back, but it'll end up having to be what was put forward. The county says that they're good with their budget numbers, and they trust They say that they trust the people working for them, that is what the numbers will be. So, and it's been that way for the last couple of years, that they've been right on target. So they trust that's what it's going to be, without any unforeseen circumstances with great hikes and something that you can't foresee, right? You don't know. But so they agreed with their numbers, but our numbers, of course, we didn't agree on them, right? So they're going to go ahead with what it is. Go ahead, ask.
So regardless of the position or the financial situation of the town, again, not having seen the budget in its entirety, so we really don't know.
Well, you were here when she came and did the full layout of what everything was going to be, right? Because I was not at that meeting, right? So
yeah.
the whole problem with it, well, not really the problem, but the basic thing with it is whether it's if it's the number that we want it to be, or the number they say that they're projecting it to be, is a projection, right? And that's, you're familiar with budgets, right? So if it's that value at the end of the day, we're still 50%, whatever the value is, and that is mandatory, right, Brian? Whether it's a negative or a positive, we are still 50-50 on it. Budget or no budget. I'm just.
Which brings me back to my point, that here we are as a town council with absolutely very little say on yes, we have 2 people on the board and they have 2 people on the board, but if we were to have said we're going to want to see a reduction, not hold, we said we want to hold the line and have a status quo budget. But if we were to have said we want to reduce services and cut costs, and the rec board came back and said, yeah, well, you can, but we're not gonna, and you have to pay 50%. That's a fundamental flaw in the problem, and so
True.
Yeah.
But the increases that I could see are power, which Quinton told them that there's going to be an 8% increase.
Yeah.
He told them that, so that's in that budget. We were told that there'll be a water increase.
Yep.
Right?
Well, not yet.
No, but there's going to be, and they have to budget for that in the upcoming year. They have to put that in there. They have to put the increases in. So with those 2 alone, it almost brings in that value over all the facilities.
Mm-hmm.
So that's where that I could see a lot of the increases were coming from.
Yeah. Councillor Danak.
Actually, when Lori was here and presented her budget, we discussed that, and basically that 38,000, I think it was basically wages.
26,000.
Or
So
whatever
it's
it was,
13.
yeah.
It's 13 for the town and 13 for them.
Yeah, it was strictly wages, is what she had said, because basically they were taking this money, putting it into their pension account in case these people decided they wanted to opt into the pension. That's what she told us when she presented here. Basically, this is for wages in case people decide they want to opt into the pension.
I didn't see it as that, so.
But, and I'm kind of taken aback in a sense that the town has said that we're not accepting what you're presenting to us. and the MD says, well, we are, so it doesn't matter, you have to pony up 50-50. So it's like, well, then what's our purpose in anything if we decide with any of the things that are funded 50-50, the library, the rec board, and we say no and they say yes, it's just an automatic thing that we have to pony up.
No, it's not really, well, I guess it depends on the individual agreements, right? Or is that an overall agreement that covers all encompasses? Intermunicipal agreement, right? So, you know, I'm learning this, so I'm trying to get a full grasp of it, but the way it looks is that it's so close, and that is the agreement in place, is that if it's negative or positive, we are sharing the burden or the benefit, one or the other. It goes both ways, right? And that's the truth of it.
That's the agreement.
Yep, it is.
You know, knowing that I haven't seen this, I'm just going to ask one quick question. When they projected the budget, did they project any additional income? And if so, since the county is so eager to suggest this, 50-50 split on the overage, have they come up with any additional ideas on how to better use our facilities to raise the income so we don't have to worry about offsetting the budget? Because if they want to hold that much say, they should be coming up with additional streams of revenue for us, and say are on that same board. I'm sorry, that's what I think.
It's a comment, and
Not to put you on the spot
Nope,
and
carry on.
stuff,
I'm
but
good.
the issue of the rec board is a contentious issue, and we could sit here for the rest of the night asking you all kinds of questions. We're never going to get an answer that suits us, or an answer that actually answers our question.
That's right.
So
I guess to continue on, when everything was said and done, Linda asked, because when we're there, she had what it was, and then she had the budget numbers. We didn't have, for the actual rec board, it wasn't completed because the budget wasn't passed, right? So she said, okay, we'll go ahead finish the numbers with the budget was projected, so at least then we have numbers we can see where the plus and minuses were, because as it stood right then and there, you really couldn't tell other than what was said about what was raising as far as the different variables, right? So and then we'll have that information for the 4th. That's our next meeting. So I don't know if that helps. But that's what it was.
and thank you.
And I met the pool manager and her husband, and they seem like great people.
They are.
They're doing a great job. I think they're doing a superb job. You can see already it's a better atmosphere in there. Yeah. Can I move to approve my verbal report?
All those in favor? Carried. None. And that concludes this council meeting at 10 after 9. Motion to adjourn.